Good morning and welcome to Retail Corner Podcast. I'm here with Tom Burgess. He is the president of SnippMedia and an overall serial entrepreneur. Tom, we were talking a little bit. You're coming to us from your boat today,
I
which is
am.
awesome, and
Yep.
I appreciate you making time for us. Um, when I say SnippMedia and serial entrepreneur, a lot of people know what that is, but just to kind of kick off things, can you give us a little bit of background, a little bit of what your insights and expertise are?
Sure. So yeah, I'll go with the entrepreneur piece first and say that. Well, first of all, cool. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Sure.
And yeah, I spend 6 months of the year on a boat, and because we're basically running from the snow these days as I get a little older in my years. But it's wonderful to be here and chat with you. So my background is a serial entrepreneur. I've been doing startups, high-tech software-based startups in the advertising space from now 27 years ago, 28 years ago. I've done 4 startups. I've been very fortunate to work with some outstanding people, and we've built 4 companies. And the typical path that I follow is I build them and then sell them to a customer or to another competitor or to a larger company looking to break into a space that we've innovated in.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And so you're working with SnippMedia, or you are out into the wilderness with SnippMedia right now. What exactly do they do?
So Snipp Interactive is a decade-old company that helps CPG clients with customer acquisition, engagement, and loyalty programs. I was on the board at Snipp for 4 years, and then we started to turn a solid profit as a company. And in a board meeting, we said, "Hey, let's take some of this profit and launch some new products." And I came up with an idea, and one of the other board members said, "Great, you do it." So I said, "Okay."
That's what happens. That's what
That's what
happens.
happens, right? But
You
it's an
stick your head
amazing
up.
team.
Yeah.
Right, it's exactly how it goes. So, but it was an amazing team at Snipp, really, really good team. The founder, Atul Sabharwal, has put together an amazing team over the years. And so he said, "Yeah, come on, man, let's do it." And so I jumped on as president, and we launched what is called Snipp Payments Media Network. And Snipp is, or the Payments Media Network is an audience. So it's a performance-based reach for digital advertising into a very unique audience. And I can get into that if you like more details, but it's not your normal digital media audience. I'll keep
Okay,
going.
so are we talking like consumer shopping data? Are we talking customer profiles,
All
that
right,
kind of
cool. So what we did is we took the audience of banks. So our first launch partner is Bank of America, right? We launched literally in
thing? Good partner to have. Yeah.
yeah, and I know it's we didn't start small. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No kidding.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we launched in about 8 days with them, and we have another top 5 bank and several other what we call publishers in our pipeline. We'll have a little over 100 million active users in our network by mid-year 24. So it's no small feat. We're on the path to a very large audience. The cool part, and you talk about data, which is the key to this, right,
Sure.
is that we have first-party shopping data from both the bank side and from retailers. So we're merging those two data pieces, right? So the banks help with targeting, attribution reporting. We know where the people shop, right? We know when they
Yeah.
shop, and we have access to them through the bank application. So we literally in Payments Media Network, in the true sense of the word, is we're putting shopping offers, CPG funded offers in the bank application, and the bank is pushing that to their cardholders. If you're a Bank of America customer, you're going to see this starting in January, and you'll see that you can get discounts on grocery shopping, and that'll be Snipp PMN powering that. And so we use some of the first-party data of the banks, but the banks don't know, and I'll just wrap up on this piece. The banks don't know what you buy, right? So we partner.
Right. I mean, it has to be tokenized at some point, you know.
So we tokenized. Yeah, there's no PII, no PCI, which is payment card information.
Of course.
And so we don't use any of those two pieces, but we have the behavior, right? We know where you shop, when you shop, how much you spend as a total basket. And then we bring retailers in we put that data, both sides, in a clean room, and that allows us to see what's inside the basket as well. So a really unique, platform, a unique network, and the banks are a unique reach, right? It's
Yeah.
not typical coupon cutting type person.
Right. It's very targeted at this point. And so how are you seeing that reach new audiences? I understand like with existing customers and rolling with that data. Are you using it to reach new audience as well?
Yeah, obviously that depends on what the brands want to do, right? Whatever the advertiser is looking to achieve. So we reach new audiences. We can help with acquisition into loyalty programs. We can help brands that want to reach audiences that have a shopping behavior that matches their needs. Pizza. Let's go with frozen pizza, right? So somebody, a brand says, well, we sell frozen pizza in large retail and grocery stores. So we want to target people that buy from pizza restaurants, right? Maybe somebody that's going to a Papa John's or a Domino's or something like that. Somebody's ordering pizza. They want to
Sure.
shop and target those people and say, hey, don't shop out or don't order out. Buy our frozen pizza at the retail store. So we do those kinds of things to help them find a different audience.
Right. And so I mean, I've got teenagers, so frozen pizza is a big part of my world. So excellent. That kind of it's kind of an interesting like perspective on that customer data because it's pulling in so much more information.
Yeah,
And
and keep going. Sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I
And
was
so
going to
yeah,
say, data has three uses in our space, right? You're using it for targeting, you're using it for optimization, and then the third use is, of course, reporting on the back end or attribution, right? So
right,
we have to carve that data up. And when our data lake, and Snipp's had this data lake being built over a decade, primarily based on what's in the basket. So Snipp is known for its capture of receipt data and analyzing every item in the basket. So you get the percentage of products in the basket. You might get what categories are in the basket. You also have maybe a share of the basket for different brands, different categories of brands. All this data. So Snipp's been doing that for a decade. And now we're bringing in a not just the use of that data from a shopping perspective or a targeting perspective, but we can also bring it in so that a brand can optimize. They've never been able
right.
to do that with Snipp, saying, I'm reaching these people, but now I want to reach people with these different behaviors. So we do a mid-campaign or mid-flight optimization. It's very cool, right? So we can help a brand, like you were just saying, they're targeting somebody or they're getting certain results and they say, ooh, but I see, I like the results we were
Somebody
getting
right
over
next. Yeah,
bingo. And so we
that's
can
cool.
alter that and change that.
And so Snip and you guys, you figured it all out, right? There's no obstacles. There's no problems with it.
Yeah,
No
man.
everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the holy grail, baby. We figured it
yeah.
out. It's
It's the
done.
secret sauce. It's all done. And so, what kind of obstacles are you seeing? Are you seeing
Yeah.
anything that's taking
So
some thought?
I've spent my life uh, finding new audiences. I was very fortunate to be at one point in my career um, working with some great people in a startup that noticed people staring at their phones. Today, if I say that, most people are like, well, yeah, everybody looks at their phone. You look
I get
around anywhere, everybody's staring at their phone, right? But
Yeah.
15, 18 years ago, that hadn't been monetized yet. So we saw people, literally, it was an aha moment where we were sitting around a trade show and I looked around at the group behind me and stuff, and I saw everybody was staring at their phone. And I said, well, that's where the ads need to be. So I've spent my career trying to find those moments. And about 9, 10 years ago, I was approached by some banks who said, hey, do we have any advertising assets that you can see? Because I had been going into, like, say, Verizon Wireless and the big wireless companies in the US and Europe and saying, congratulations on building an amazing media company. And so they looked at me like I was crazy. Who the hell are you? We're a phone
Right.
company. And then they realized, oh, well, we are. So the
It's like
banks started, I had the same conversation with some of the banks. And over the last decade, I've spent my time with the banks working on monetizing their data from a media perspective. Exactly the same thing. Challenges are different in every sector, every vertical. The banking side is very challenging because consumers are in their bank app to pay their bills, to check their balance, to do these other things. And so we had to come up with, the banks and us working together, to come up with a way to create more of a benefit to the consumer. So that's why all the offers aren't just ads. The offers are discounts, cash back. In some cases,
Right.
we support points programs too, but mostly cash back. And so now the challenge was simply just to explain to the consumer, yeah, it's your bank, but look, your bank has offers that are going to save you money every day. And that's when it got the consumers engaged. So suddenly we started to see the consumer saying, oh, wait a minute. So if I use my Bank of America payment card at this store, then I save money. Cash goes back to my account,
Yeah.
or cash comes off at the till. So we had that barrier just to educate consumers because it was something new, right? You're not used to that.
You don't go looking. You don't go looking in your bank app for that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we had that barrier to cross. The next challenge, and this is an ongoing one, is to merge those two data sets. So it's, our first challenge was consumer behavior challenge. Always a big effort, or a big launching something different. The next challenge, though, of getting two data sets together, right? Bank data, retail data, and match them up. Technology-wise, that was a challenge, and also, of course, rights-wise, right? Working with these banks and making sure that, and the retailers, making sure that they are protecting their data in every way that it possibly can. So that was a big challenge, and still continues to be. But it's working, and results make that grow, right? So those were the two biggest challenges that we're still dealing with.
Sure. If I have a feeling, if you fixed all the problems, you'd be onto something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Challenge is what makes it worthwhile. But and so you were looking at people with their phones 15 years ago. Right now, are we looking at how to utilize AI, how to utilize technology? What do you see is next in this space?
Ooh, in this space, yeah. So obviously AI, right? Everybody
Sure.
wants to figure out how AI is going to
I
work.
think I'm
What's
getting
the
AI for Christmas. It's so
Yeah, yeah.
common now. Like,
Right. So I think I can go down the AI path, and I'm going to sound maybe a little bit like an old man here, but I think that it's not yet figured out. I think there's a
sure.
ton of activity around it, maybe even some false and misunderstood hopes and dreams around it. Its place in advertising and in retail are not well nailed down. There aren't a lot of case studies of things that have happened, not a lot of results that have come out of it yet. So
Right.
we tend to be in a bit of a wait and see mode on the user experience side. So where do you put AI too, right? So I'm talking mostly in the user experience, the campaign management. The AI that Snipp leverages mostly is the artificial intelligence of optimizing that data that you get in. So it takes the
Mhm.
data streams that come in. A 6-ounce box of Pop Tarts is going to look very different on a receipt or a POS feed at one retail chain compared to
Oh,
another
sure.
retail chain, right? Totally different. It's a messy data field.
Sure.
Next, it could be different from that same retail chain store in the Northeast as it is, totally different data feed coming from that same retail chain, but down in the Southeast. And so we use AI on that side to optimize our understanding of the data, to optimize the signals that we see in the data based on answering the questions. What does that data stream mean? And so we spend a significant amount of effort training our machine learning technology so that our data output, because bad data in, bad data out. So training our data output to be accurate so that when we're working with our clients, so every day we have an AI effort we have a great team. We have an amazing team scattered around the world. Actually, we've got some folks in India, we've got some folks in Canada, and some in the U.S. that work together on our artificial intelligence and machine learning efforts, just simply managing that data.
Right. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if your data lake is polluted, then anything that you're pulling out of it is useless. And
That's
so
right.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So on a more personal note, none of us get to where we are alone. And
Yeah,
so
man.
I'm going to ask you about mentorship. Are you have you had significant mentorship in your life? I mean, entrepreneurs usually do, but where do you see mentorship sitting in our industry right now?
Wow. So I'll give a quick about my mentorship that I had. I was very fortunate early on to have my father as a mentor and to have a friend of his as a mentor. And I started in the entrepreneurism path before it was what it is today, right? I mean, I'm 58 years old now, and I started my first company before I was when I was about 24 years old. I started my first software startup, and VCs didn't exist really. They
Trying to
kind
think
of
of like,
did.
were you coding an ASCII kind of thing? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
was
man. Oh no, literally went from DOS to Windows, right? Like I
nice?
lived through that. Yeah, all right. So and we had anyway. So that's
We'll
going
talk
too
about
deep.
it
Yeah.
later.
So, but there was a gentleman named Dick Morley, and Dick Morley was an MIT guy, and he was the inventor of the programmable changer, which yes, for some people it's automatic changing of high beams, low beams, or intermittent windshield wipers. It's a little thing that does that. And so he was
Yeah.
an incredible entrepreneur. He had boxes of patents. And I got introduced to him at a young age because I had no idea. I knew I wanted to start a company. I didn't know. So, and he became an amazing mentor, as well as my father, who was working in the entrepreneur. He wasn't an entrepreneur. He worked in startup industry, though. He was military and then went into startups after he got out of the military, seeking his knowledge and his expertise. And so I learned from those two people. And it was the best lesson I got. All right. This is one that I use today when I mentor people. When people say, "How'd you do it, Tom?" I say, well, you know what? I said, prepare yourself because you will lose something like a house, a car, or something. You will maybe ruin a marriage or a significant relationship. You will definitely lose credit cards, and your credit score will go through the toilet. And you will have elevator rides up and down that nobody else in a typical trajectory of a career, being in an industry in a company for a long period of time, you'll have these ups and downs, these peaks. And if you are prepared, and this is what Dick Morley said to me, he said, if you're prepared for that, then do this. And I was a dumb kid. I was like, yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah.
And it all happened. Okay. It all happened. I've had cars repossessed, or at least they tried to find them. I was hiding them behind houses to hide my cars. I've been up and down wonderful, wonderful. Now I'm about 30-year marriage, and my wife has lived with me through and throughout. And there's stories of the tough times that we went through. But she's also probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm here today. So yeah, man, that's the probably the best piece of
Absolutely.
advice I ever got, though.
But you find with the ups and downs and everything else like that, if you look backwards, it's a straight line. It's like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. It took all this junk getting there, but yeah. And so
So it's a straight line. It goes like this. It goes and it goes, and it goes, and it goes boom boom, and then it goes this and then boom boom. So yeah, it's a straight line with super spikes.
nothing wrong with a heartbeat.
That's
But
right.
so all right, so I think we're reaching our time limit here. And so if I had like a small business or like an emerging brand looking to understand this,
Sorry.
again,
The
you're on a
perils
boat,
of living on a boat.
both things happen. That's okay.
Yep.
And so what advice would you give to like a smaller or emerging brand that's wanting to like use the information that they have and kind of play on the field with the big boys and
Yeah.
with the larger retailers?
I think so I have kind of a couple of different things that I think about when asked these questions. The first is to the youngest entrepreneur, to the people that say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start a business, and I want to start it in this particular category, that particular category. And retail right now is an incredibly chaotic space, and therefore a very, very good space to be launching a startup and or launching a new product. Doesn't have to be a startup. Could be launching a new product within an existing company. Either one of those. It's a very good time in retail to do that. And I think it will be for several years going forward. My advice typically is it doesn't land well initially. I say, don't do it until you have actually worked with another entrepreneur. Get into a startup, feel what it's like, try to get as close to that senior team as you can, get as early in a company's gestation as you possibly can, and see what it's really like, because it is not as romantic as everybody makes it out to be. And with that knowledge, for instance, I won't make this too long of a story, but when I first launched, I didn't do that. And I had to learn all of the pit stops along the way by, damaging my own face, smashing into the wall, right? And you can, nowadays, there's so many different startups out there that are looking for good, strong people. And they're looking for athletes, right? They don't need to have a lot of experience. If you go to the right startup, and the good entrepreneurs will hire people that are good athletes, they want to put in the time, and spend at the very least a year of seeing what it's like to be in that environment. Then go start something. So I mean, and I'm hoping I'm answering your question in the right way. But
no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like what you're wanting is make sure that you know what path you're walking down before you just start running, because you could be running east toward the setting sun because you think it's progress, but it's the wrong direction.
And progress doesn't always show itself. And candidly, there are a lot of people out there that are going to be naysayers. Everybody hears this, right? Don't let them tell you you can't make it, right? And I agree with that. I'm there on that. In fact, when people tell me I can't do something, my heels dig in, and I go, and that's who I am. Yeah. But you know what? You progress isn't always obvious, and so you need that experience of the speed bumps that you're going to have to navigate through just the startup process, just understanding what it's like. Never mind the product and the innovation and the capability that you bring to the market. Obviously, don't do anything unless there's a well-defined pain point that you're going to solve. That's the other thing. I'm an innovator of things nobody's doing. Bit of a harder thing to do. It takes a little more time. I'm not a new mousetrap guy. Both are great. Both paths are great. In fact, new mousetraps. I've had people, other companies follow me into a space where we took the arrows, if you will, right? We mobile advertising. I mentioned that a minute ago.
Bleeding edge,
yeah, we were bleeding edge. People were like, mobile advertising. What are those ads on the sides of buses? They didn't understand, right? No kidding, really, truly. And there are people that came into that space and did incredibly well based on the work we did. Those are also those are better mousetrap plays. Those are great. You just have to be ready for the ride.
I think that's a perfect. I think that's a perfect line. Just be ready for the ride.
Yeah, man.
And so, perfect. And so, Tom, thank you for coming out and talking with us a little bit today. We're going to put all of your contact information, everything for Snipp. If anybody is interested in learning a little bit more, they can follow through. And again, have fun sailing, and be careful out there.
All right. Thanks so much, Cole. It's great being with you.
Yes, sir. Bye.
If you would like to be featured on our podcast, please email us at podcast@retailcorner.live or visit our website, retailcorner.live. Looking forward to having you as our guest on our podcast, and thank you so much for listening.